To get started with Zoho Books is a completely cloud-based end-to-end accounting solution, which is also GST compliant. And as you see here, once you log into Zoho Books, the initial screen that you'll be seeing is the dashboard. But before we quickly jump on to the various modules, we will quickly see how to get started with the basic settings in Zoho Books. So as you see on top, there is a settings option from where you can configure the basic organization details. So starting from your organization logo, your organization name, the industry, the email ID from which you want to send the transactions to your customers from Zoho Books, the reporting basis, like whether you want the reports to be generated on an accrual or a cash basis. We also have multilingual support, so you can choose in which language you want to use Zoho Books. And also you can include additional fields. So if you want to display more details as a part of the transactions, you can also include additional fields using this additional field option. So this is the first step once you get started with Zoho Books, using which you can configure your organization profile. Moving forward, the next settings that you will be doing are the tax settings. So most of the businesses will be registered for GST. So once again, you can go to settings and taxes, from where you'll be having this GST settings option. So here you can configure what is your GSTI number and other details like legal name, whether you want to enable reverse charge in sales transactions. And also if you deal with overseas clients also, you need to enable this option. My business is involved in SEC or overseas trading, and you can configure the GST settings. So once you've configured the GST settings, in case you have multiple branches in your organization, you can also configure the various branches by once again going to settings and branches option, from where you can add your branch details. So you can mention what is the branch name, what is the address of your branch, the GSTI number, and you can also configure a separate transaction series, and this will help you to track the transactions created between multiple branches. So having done these initial settings like organization profile, configuring the taxes, and also adding the multiple branches, you can start using Zoho Books to maintain your day-to-day accounting. So I'm back at the main screen where you see the dashboard. So dashboard is something that gives you an overall picture about the financial health of your business. So from here, you'll be able to see what are your total receivables and payables. Following this, there'll be a cash flow graph where month-wise it will show you the incoming and outgoing cash flows. Moving forward, there'll be two more charts. One which gives you a comparison of the income versus expenses recorded in Zoho Books, and another chart which shows you what are the top expenses incurred. If you scroll down, there are two more widgets. One is projects. So if you are into a business where you take up projects for your clients, and you'll be associating timesheets to the projects, and you'll be invoicing your customers for the same, you can create projects using the time tracking module available here. And the list of projects you created, you can directly view it from this projects widget. And this will show you how many hours have already been built and what are the hours yet to be built to your clients. So you can track the status of your project right from this dashboard. Similarly, as you see here, there is a bank and credit card widget using which you'll be able to view the list of banks connected. So once again, to give you an idea, as you see here, there is a banking module in Zoho Books using which you'll be able to connect your bank and your credit card here. So you can directly click on this add bank or credit card button. Just click on connect now and search for the bank in which you have an account in. So there'll be a search box from where you'll be able to search for the list of bank. Like you can just type in the bank name and you'll be prompted to enter the net banking login ID and credentials. So once you enter your credentials, your bank will be connected to Zoho Books and all your bank statements will be automatically pulled in. So it will show you the deposits and withdrawal entries, which you can use to reconcile to the transactions created in Zoho Books. So once you connect your bank, as I said, the purpose is two things. One is all your bank statements will be automatically pulled in, which you can reconcile directly from here. And the list of banks you've connected, you'll be able to directly view it from this dashboard. So the bank name, along with the balances against the bank, you can view it from this bank and credit cards widget. Finally, we also have an account watch list. So if you instantly want to view what is the balance against a particular ledger, you can add those ledgers to the account watch list. So this will show you the account name and what is the balance against that ledger at any point of time. And Zoho Books being a completely cloud-based application, you can even access it from the web. And we also have a mobile application for the same. So be it you want to monitor your reports or view the dashboard or create transactions, it can be done right from this web version or the mobile phone as well. Now, jumping on to the main modules, the first module, as you see here, it is the items module, from where you'll be able to add the goods which you deal in your business, or if you're into a service-based sector, the list of services you provide can be added from this item section. So you can configure the item details, like if it is a good, you can mention the name and the HSN code. Or if it is a service, you can configure the details like name, SAC code of the particular service you provide, what is the rate at which you provide the service for, and you can also choose the account against which the journal entries have to be posted. The GST rates can also be configured by using this default tax rate section. And if it is a good, so maybe you might be having inventory in your business, like you might be into a goods based business, or even service based business might be having consumables for which you might want to track inventory. So for those cases, you can enable this inventory tracking option, and you can associate an account under which you want to track the stock. Already, if opening stock is available at your end, you can update the opening stock here, and also what is the opening stock rate per unit, and you can create a new item. Once again, just to clarify, item is both goods you deal and the services you offer. So once you've added an item in this way, you'll be able to view the item masters. And for whichever item the stock tracking has been enabled, you'll be able to view what is the stock on hand. So this stock on hand will be automatically updated based on the sale and the purchase you make. So every time you sell this item, stock will automatically reduce. And every time you purchase this item, stock will automatically increase. And it is not just a process of manually creating an item. In case you already have an in-house system where you have the list of items configured, you can even choose to bulk import the data. So we have given sample file here, which is basically an Excel file. You can download this Excel file, populate all your item details in it, and you can bulk import the same back to Zoho Books. And this process is not just for the item module. So be it your customers or your suppliers or any transactions you have, you can create it both manually, and it is possible to bulk import the same as well. So once you have the item masters configured, the next section as you see under items is the price list feature. So this is mainly used when a particular item, be it a good or a service, has fluctuating rates. So maybe for a certain set of customers, there might be a specific rate. For another set of customers, that might be a specific rate. Or time to time, you might be, revisiting the prices you have configured for the services or the goods. So in cases where you have varying price lists, like varying prices, you can create price lists in Zoho Books. So you can create a new price list from here, and two types of price lists can be basically created. In case you just want to mark up or mark down the price by a particular percentage, you can choose the first option, and you can mention what is the markup or markdown percentage. In case you don't want to define this in a percentage wise, if you want to enter the custom rate corresponding to the items, you can choose the second option here, and you can mention what are the customized rates corresponding to the items which you have already created in Zoho Books. So once you've defined a price list in this way, this can be applied at two levels. One, directly at the customer level, you can apply this price list. So every time a transaction is created for the customer, automatically the custom rate will be picked up. Or if you do not want to mention this or associate this at the customer level, you can associate this at the transaction level as well. So this is to give you a brief about the items module, where any goods or services you deal in your business can be added as items. And to handle varying price fluctuations, you can create price lists in Zoho Books. As you see next, we have the sales and purchase module, which will help you to handle your accounts receivable and accounts payable in your business. So as you see under sales, there is a customers section. So your list of clients or debtors you deal with can be added as customers in Zoho Books. And regarding the transactions, we have a three-step workflow. So you can start from creating an estimate, which serves as a quotation or a performer invoice. The same can be converted into a sales order. So if the client issues you a PO, the same can be, which is a purchase order, the same can be recorded as a sales order in Zoho Books. And finally, you can also record the tax invoice, which you'll be issuing to your clients. Now, to get started with on how to create a new customer, you can come to this customer section, from where you can create a new customer. So you can associate the details like name, what is your email ID, their phone number. You can choose the GST treatment of the customer. So if they are a registered business in India, you can choose the GST treatment as registered business, and you can enter their GSTI number. It is also possible to verify the GSTI number by clicking on the Get Taxpayer Details option here. So this will check whether the GSTI number is active, when was the last period they filed their return. So those details can be verified by clicking on Get Taxpayer Details. In case you deal with overseas clients, you can choose the GST treatment as overseas, and there'll be an option to associate the currency in which you'll be creating transactions for them. So you can choose the currency from here, and as you see, automatically the exchange rate gets populated. So we are actually partnered with a service provider called as Open Exchange Rates. So through them, whatever is the exchange rate as on the day you create the transaction, it will be automatically picked up. So for example, the transaction will be in AUD, but the backend accounting entries will be posted in INR based on the exchange rate that is pulled. In case if you feel you do not want the exchange rate to be automatically populated, And if you want to manually update the same, you can disable the exchange rate feeds and you can manually update the exchange rate from your end. So this is basically how a customer can be created, and these are the default fields available. But in addition to this, if you want to associate more data against the customer, you can create them as custom fields, and any additional details against the customer can be added using this section. So this is basically how a new customer can be created. Now going to the transaction workflow, as I said, the first step being creating a performer invoice or a quotation. So let me show you how to create a transaction. So we can come to this estimate section. I'll just click on this plus new option. I will search for the customer name. And once we select the customer name, the billing address, shipping address, GST treatment, GST number, all these details will be populated. So you can just scroll down and you can choose what is the service or the goods which you are associating as a part of the transaction. And once you select the item name, from the item masters, the SAC code, the rate, the GST percentage, all these details will be picked up. In case you want to modify this data, let us say I want to update the rate manually, or if you want to apply a price list so that a custom rate will be applicable. So you can do it directly at this transaction level and you can create a new estimate from here. If you want to attach some reference files and send across to your clients, you can also make use of this upload file option and attach any additional files. So this will create a new estimate or a quotation for us. And here I've configured the template name as quotation, so it appears as such. And also regarding templates, we do have given multiple templates in Zoho Books, which you can instantly change by clicking on this change template option. So based on your preference, you can choose the template and the data will be populated against the respective template for you. So this is the basic process of creating an estimate in Zoho Books. So that as a next step, if you want to email this directly to your clients, you can do it from here by click on the send email option. So we have created an estimate and let us assume this is already sent. Now the next step is customers might be accepting this estimate or declining this estimate. So for that, here as you see, there is an option either to mark it as accepted or mark it as declined. So if the customer has accepted the estimate, you can directly click on mark as accepted. So as you see, the status change will take place and this will be changed to the accepted status. And next, you can choose to convert this directly into a sales order, or if in your business you'll not be creating a sales order, you directly want to create a tax invoice, you can directly click on this convert invoice option. Now, once you click on this convert option, all the data from the estimate will be automatically fetched here. So including the customer details as well as the service details will be automatically pulled in at the invoice level. If you want to associate TDS at the invoice level, you can associate the TDS percentage from this drop down and the amount will be automatically calculated and it will be tracked under the TDS receivable account. So this is how an invoice can be raised directly from an estimate. Or once again, in your case, if you will not be creating an estimate or a sales order, if you want to directly raise a tax invoice, you can come to this invoices section and just create a new invoice from here. So now tax invoice has been created. And as I previously said, you can directly send this to your clients from here. The next step in this is receiving your payments. So for receipt of payments, we do support multiple means through which payments can be received. One is we are partnered with certain payment gateways like EasyPay, Razorpay, Paytm, PayPal, to Checkout, and Stripe. So in case you integrate any of these payment gateways with Zoho Books, when you send an invoice to your clients, along with that, a payment link will also be sent to them. So your clients will be able to directly click on that link and make a payment against the invoice. If they make a payment through this payment gateway integration, then the payment will be automatically reconciled against the invoice and the status of the invoice will be updated as paid. So you don't have to manually come and update the payment that you receive. The payment gateway integration will automatically update the payment and the status as well. Or if you receive the payment through bank transfer or cash or through some other means, in that case, we have this record payment button at the top. You can just directly click on this record payment button, mention whatever amount you receive, be it a partial payment or a full payment. You can mention the payment mode on how you receive the payment from your clients, and you can choose the deposit to account. So whether you want to record it under the cash account or if you have integrated your bank, the bank name will also be displayed here. So you can choose the respective bank account and you can record the payment. If you want to send a thank you to your customer for making the payment, you can also enable this option, email a thank you note for the customer, and you can record the payment against an invoice. Now, in all these processes, what we do from our end is just the data entry task. So if you see, I just create the invoice, I just record the payment. So one thing unique is the journal entries will be automatically taken care by the system. So you don't have to go and worry about which account has to be debited or credited. So you just create the invoice, you just record the payment, and based on that, the respective accounting entries will be taken care by the system. In addition to this, if your business is eligible for e-invoicing, then we are also integrated with the IRP. So as you see against this invoice, there is a push to IRP button. You can directly click on this and the system will ask you whether you want to push only the invoicing details or both invoicing and e-way details. So based on your business, like if you're into a goods based and if you want to generate an e-way bill as well, you can choose the respective option. And once that invoice is successfully pushed to the IRP, the details like IRN, the QR code, the acknowledgement number and acknowledgement date, these details will be pulled from the IRP and it will be automatically affixed against the respective invoices. So you can either choose to push it one invoice at a time, or if you want to bulk push the invoices to the IRP, that is also possible. So this is how your AR can be handled in Zoho Books, where, as I said, there is a three-step workflow starting from estimate to the sales order to a tax invoice and finally the payment recording part. In addition to this, if you receive any advances from your customers, you can record the same using the payments receipt section. From here, you can go to the customer advance tab. You can select the customer who's paying the advance to you. You can update other details like what is the amount you received from them. Once again, what how they paid, what is the account in which it has to be deposited to, and you can record a customer advance. So this advance amount will be available as credits in the name of the customer. These credits can directly apply to the invoices and adjust it against the invoice. Or if you'll be later issuing this advance back as a refund to the customers, you can also record a refund entry for the same. And a few more things regarding the sales part. One is recurring invoices. So if you are into a subscription kind of a model where either weekly or monthly or on a frequent basis you'll be raising invoices to your clients for the same amount, you can create recurring profiles in Zoho Books mentioning the frequency. So this will automatically create the invoice in the name of the customer, and you can automate the process of even emailing the invoice to the customers or even auto charge it, push it to the IRP and sending it to your customers. So you can configure the preferences in such a way that the complete process will be automated. And also if you want to raise credit notes or debit notes for your customers, the same can be handled from here as well. So this is to give you a overview of the sales module where you can add your clients and you can handle your accounts receivable part by using the transactions, namely estimate sales orders and invoices, and finally the payments against your clients. Now moving forward with purchases, which will help you to handle your accounts payable and also your organizational expenses. So the list of suppliers from whom you purchase can be added as vendors in Zoho Books. So once again, as how you created a new customer, a new vendor can be created. And in addition to this, you can even associate a default TDS percentage. So the purpose of this is when you record the vendor invoice in Zoho Books, in case you forget to associate the TDS, the same will be picked up from this vendor masters. And also if you want to associate the bank details for your vendor, you can also add the bank account details against the name of the supplier. So once you've added the vendor, regarding the AP workflow, like any purchases you make, you can create a PO which can be issued to your vendors from here. And once those goods are received, you can directly convert this purchase order into a bill. Creating a purchase order is very similar to creating an estimate. So whichever transaction you take, the creation process is exactly the same. So just select the vendor, choose the items you're going to purchase, and you can directly create a PO. And as I said, once you receive the items which are present in the PO, on the top there'll be a convert to bill option. You can directly click on this convert to bill. So from the PO, the vendor details and item details will be populated. You can verify this. If you want to associate TDS, you can do the same. If you want to attach the vendor invoice original copy as a reference, you can even upload that file and record the bill right away. Regarding vendor payouts, which is an important process in most of the businesses, we are partnered with certain banks, namely ICICI, Standard Chartered, HSBC, and Yes Bank. In case you have an account in any of these four banks, so against the bill, like how you have a option to record the payment manually, to initiate your vendor payouts, we'll be having a pay button like this. So this is supported in the four banks which I mentioned now. So you can just click on this pay button, enter your OTP or the secret PIN which the bank will be providing to you, and you can initiate your vendor payments right from Zoho Books. In case you don't have an account in any of these four banks which I mentioned, once again there'll be a record payment button. You can directly click on record payment and record whatever payment you made to the vendor. And also we have an approval process in place. So be it for the sales or the purchase transactions. So if there might be an employee who will be creating the transactions, and there might be levels of hierarchy to whom these transactions need to go for approval. And only after it is approved, the transaction can be sent to your vendors or customers, and the journal entries have to be posted. You can even configure approval system in Zoho Books. And only after the transaction goes through all the levels of approvals, it can be sent to the customers or the vendors. And based on that, the respective accounting entries will be posted for you. So this is regarding the accounts payable part, where once you create the bill, automatically the entry against the accounts payable will be posted for you. And also, if you deal with overseas customers or vendors, based on the exchange rate that is mentioned at the transaction level, and based on the exchange rate which is mentioned while recording the payment, that difference in exchange rates will be automatically captured against the exchange gain or loss account. So it is not required to manually post entries for your foreign exchange transactions. Even the exchange gain or loss amounts will be automatically captured by the system. Next is organizational expenses, which are very vital in most of the businesses. So you can record any day-to-day expenses using this expenses section, from where you can choose under which head you want to record the expense. For example, let me choose travel charges. You can mention what is the amount spent as an expense and what is the pay through account. And any reference receipts you have as a proof of the expense, you can upload it from here. And if this expense is associated to a particular employee, you can even associate the employee from this drop down, and you can record the expense. One more thing is, if you have cost centers in your business, or you have departments based on which you want to generate P&L or the transaction based reports, we have something called as reporting tags. So you can create your cost centers or your departments as reporting tags in Zoho Books, and you can associate these tags at the transaction level. So as you see, these are some of the sample tags I created. So I can tag a particular expense to a specific cost center, and when I pull out the P&L or the transaction based reports, it can be pulled out based on the tags that we associate. So these tags can be associated both at the sales level and the purchase level. So let me record the sample expense. So as you see, this expense is associated to the employee, and also it will be tagged to the respective cost center which I associated. So this is how your organization level expenses can be accounted in Zoho Books. And similarly, recurring bills, if you purchase something from your vendor very frequently, like on a recurring basis, maybe your internet charges might occur on a frequent basis, right? So for any kind of recurring transactions that happen in your business, you can create recurring bills for the same. So system will automatically create the bill and post the journal entries for you. And once again, if you want to record the debit note or the credit note in the name of the vendor, the same can be handled using this vendor credit section, where the amount once again will be available as credits, which can be applied to the bills and adjusted against the same. So this is how the accounts receivable and accounts payable part can be handled. And based on the transactions that we created in Zoho Books, Zoho being a GSP, we generate the GST reports. So we currently support GSTR 1, GSTR 3B, the annual returns GSTR 9, and for reconciliation, we have GSTR 2B as well. So regarding the filing process, it is basically going to be a three-step process, where in the first step, based on the transactions that you recorded, the summary report will be generated for you. So you can review this data, and once you have verified the same, as a second step, you'll be able to push this to the GST portal directly from here. So just click on this push to GSTN. So this will push all the data, and it will be populated against the respective tables in your GST portal. And finally, you can go to this file your return tab, enter the OTP that will be sent to you, and you can complete the filing process. So be it GSTR 1, 3B or 9, you're going to follow this three-step process, where summary report will be generated, data can be pushed to the GST portal from here, and then you can file your return either from Zoho Books, or you can directly file it from the GST portal. Regarding the accountant section, manual journals. So as far as AR, AP and other expenses are concerned, as we discussed already, journal entries are going to be taken care by the system. But in case you want to post any provision entries, or here in some adjustment entries, that is where the manual journal section will be helpful. So you can associate the accounts, update the debits and credits, and you can create a journal voucher from here. Chart of accounts is basically like the general ledger. So list of all the accounts in Zoho Books will be displayed here. In case you're already using some other accounting platform which has the ledgers pre-configured, you can import the same chart of accounts into Zoho Books, and even along with the opening balances against those ledgers, and you can use it like at Zoho Books. Like you can associate the same accounts at the transaction levels. We also have a budgeting module that will help you to track what are the budget set and what are the actuals configured. So you can create a new budget, and this can be configured at a branch level or even at the tag level, which is nothing but the cost center or based on the verticals you have. So you can create a new budget by associating various accounts. So this is basically a ledger level budget where against various ledgers, you can configure what are the budgeted amounts. So once you create a budget in this way, the second step is to define what is the budgeted value. So you can come here and you can update that for this account, for this month, I'm going to set 5,000 as the budget. So likewise, for whichever account you chose, you can define what are the budgets which are going to be configured. And the use of this is we have a report called as budget versus actuals that will give you a comparison on what is the budget we set, but what were the actuals incurred based on the transactions we recorded, and whether this is an over budget for you or under budget for you. So you can have a complete analysis on how the budget, like how your business is performing by comparing the budget versus the actuals here. Finally, we also have transaction locking. So if you think you want to restrict creating transactions before a particular date, or if you don't want the transactions created to be modified, that is where transaction locking will be helpful. So you can mention a lock date and reason for locking. And any transactions before this particular date, your users will not be able to create or modify the already created transactions. Finally, coming to the reports, where we have around 50 plus reports in Zoho Books, starting from the business reports, where we have the profit and loss, the balance sheet, the cash flow reports. We have reports for receivables and payables, where AR or AP wise, if you want to see what are the aging details, both aging summary and aging transaction wise details, you can view the same. If you want to view category wise expense or employee wise expense, the expense reports will be helpful for you. Similarly, under tax reports, we have the TDS reports and also the GST reports in a downloadable format. Account transactions report will be helpful if you want to filter out the transactions specific to a particular ledger. So if you want to see what are the ledger wise transactions, account transactions report will be helpful. Similarly, we have day book, the general ledger and trial balance, and we are audit trail compliant as well. So every activity that takes place in your Zoho Books organization, you'll be able to capture the complete audit trail of the same, including what date, what time, and what activity was performed by which user. And just to give you a brief on the basic customization that can be done on the reports, going back to profit and loss, you can run the report based on specific date ranges, either this week, this month, this year, or if you want to mention a custom from date and to date and run the report, of course you can do that. In case you do not want to manually come and check out these reports, you can even set up schedules. So based on the frequency that you set up here, and based on the email ID of the recipient and the format, automatically the report will be generated and it will be emailed to you. Or if you want to export this report at any point of time, you can always export it in PDF and XLS formats. And also regarding P&L, if you want to compare the P&L between previous periods or previous years, or if you want to have a comparison based on your cost centers or between the multiple branches or even the projects. So as I said in the beginning, if you take up projects and you associate timesheets to your projects, if you want to see which project is more profitable, you can even compare the P&L based on your projects. Just to show you how the report would look like, I'm just choosing compare based on reporting tags. And let me associate two cost centers here. So I'm associating Bangalore and Chennai, and I'll run the report. So this will give you a column-wise comparison on the P&L between the two cost centers that we associated. So likewise, this basic level of customization can be done across the reports which are available in Zoho Books here. So this is to give you a brief about the various modules, and quickly to cover about the important settings. One is users and roles, where you can configure customized roles. So you can choose which modules must be accessible to a particular user and which modules must be completely hidden from them. And within a module, you can choose whether you want to provide only view access or view, create, edit, delete, etc. So based on the level of access you provide, only those modules will be accessible to them. We also have automations which can be performed by using something called as workflow rules. So if you want to configure a rule by saying, let us say when the invoice amount goes greater than 2 lakhs, you want to be notified via email, you can configure such things using this workflow rules. So you can choose the modules for which you want to configure this workflow rule. And let me configure like every time the invoice is created and check for the total. So I'll say that total, if it becomes greater than 2 lakhs, then what the system needs to do, it needs to trigger an email alert. So likewise, you can define rules based on which certain set of automated actions can be performed in Zoho Books. And one more thing is automated reminders. So if you want to remind your customers regarding the overdue payment against invoices, you can even set up automated reminders from here, like these many days after or before the due date. So based on the configurations you do here, automatically an email alert will be triggered to your customers. And finally, regarding data backup, if in case you want to have a complete offline access of your data, that is where this data backup option will be helpful. So you'll be able to do this every 15 days once, where it will generate a link and it will be emailed to you. On clicking the link, a CSV file will be downloaded, which will contain the entire data in your Zoho Books organization. So in case you want a complete backup of your data in offline mode, you can make use of this data backup option. So this is to give you a quick overview of the various modules available in Zoho Books. So apart from this, if you have any questions regarding the product or the various features, you can please post your questions in the Q&A tab, and I'll be glad to take it up.